All right, the next we're gonna move back to the Ukraine, and on Wednesday there was a story by this Ukraine, former Ukrainian in Florida, who's quite a storyteller.
Yeah, Volodymyr Yarmak. He still have his mom, his brother, and the sister in the city of Chernihiv. Last time he shared how his family members are doing over there, how they cope with the bombing. So I also asked him, because right now a lot of people care about how would Taiwan to cope with if, in case the CCP wanted to attack, similar to what Russia is doing to Ukraine. Like Volodymyr, he shared one of the tactics of Putin did was, buying off people, sending some Russians into places like the Crimea and the other two cities in the East Ukraine to pretend to be people, wanting for independence and protesting. So I just ask Volodymyr, the next segment we started with this question is because we all know that Chinese Communist Party always played the same similar tactic, is to divide within the country or the region so that they can insert a wedge between the people, of their target. So I just ask Volodymyr what he thinks that Taiwanese people can learn from that.
First of all, never give up, right? You never give up. You see, Russia is very against nationalism of Ukraine. Why? Because that is what defines Ukraine. So for Taiwan, I think there has to be nationalism very strongly developed. Within the last 7 years in Ukraine, I haven't seen that many flags. I mean, I haven't seen throughout all the years as many flags as within the last 7 years. Flags are everywhere. People started speak Ukrainian only as much as they can. All the governments, they use only their own language. And I don't know what the language is. I don't know what, the symbolism there. But that part is huge. That's what unites people, the recognition signs. That's what people really made out of. So just being as committed to the nation you are, I think is like number one thing. Because even right now, like for example, this is a little thing, right? But as people speak Ukrainian, for example, there are Russians that sometimes they'll change their clothes, right? And they'll try to invade into a city like in an ambulance or, as if they are not Russian, right? So how do you know, right? How do you find out if they are infiltrating, right? Mm-hmm. You ask them a couple questions to say things in Ukrainian, and they cannot say, they cannot say the words. They don't know the language. So you see, I'm not sure, like I said, how with Taiwan and China, how closely they are, but this was a big defining thing. And now we have lots of jokes on Facebook, say palyanytsa, and Russians say palyanytsa, right? But we could hear like, oh, you're Russian, like we could tell, Another thing, I think people just need to know who they are, like as a nation, and just be committed to that and be strong. Just remember, anything that will cause you or like insist in you like some sort of a bad emotion against Taiwan, that's not from Taiwan. Do not read that stuff. This is exactly what I'm assuming China would do and any communists will do. They'll create conflicts that are fake. Don't look into that. So I don't know, just these couple of things I think will make a big difference. Yeah, and people have to be united. They have to trust. They have to really just stand up for each other. And also, the last thing I'll mention. So, in a war, what happens is you kind of, the civilians hide and then you have the military that controls areas, right, in the city. So, there's a group of people who is responsible for, order within this block, right? That's what happens in Ukraine right now. I think people in Taiwan should do that even without the war. Take responsibility for your surrounding. Look, see what's going on. Try to understand. Try to get to know your neighbors. Try to understand who is there and why. Because in Ukraine, we have people who moved into Ukrainian apartments, right? A couple months before this started. And these people now, were giving coordinates for rocket hits, right? So you understand like, oh, This was a spy coming in. But if you care about your surroundings, if you care about your neighbors, if you always connect with each other, if you talk, if you will understand these things. These are like, these are big things. And so, and internet, of course, yeah, filter out the messages, really find the news sources that are good.
To what extent the Ukrainian people are aware of Putin's agenda and the communism, always just trying to get in?
Hmm. I think they were not as aware until, the time with Yanukovych. And, people, I think most of the people, they don't really want to involved in politics. So it was kind of waves, so they realized, oh, wow, Yanukovych wanted to go this way. No, we don't want that. And I think it kind of just calmed down, right? But then we see Donetsk, Lugansk, and they were like, no way, right? So I think it most comes and goes, with that. However, we can make a strong conclusion, I think, right now that just the level of defense that you've seen, from military of Ukraine and from civil people, we could tell that people really much aware. Like, for example, there is about 100,000 people joined army, as a free volunteers, right? So basically, the Ukraine army just gives them a weapon, and even though they didn't have experience, but they tell them you can defend, and it's called the territorial defense, right? So anyone can do it. From that, we could make a conclusion. They are really aware. They really understand the issue. Yeah.
So anything else you would like to share?
There's this rumor, right, that this is the beginning of the World War III, and possibly that this is going to lead to much bigger conflict. And today in the news, I saw that 7 of the United States websites, defense websites, were hacked by China, from 7 different states. I'm sorry, from 7 different states. And you still see these little, hints and things like that. But I really hope for the people that hear this, they will understand. You gotta be, even though, you may not watch the news, you may not want to listen to this. I really invite everyone to still do watch some of the news and some of the things that are pertaining to international politics, so that you can understand and so that you can make decisions based on that, so that you can be prepared, so that you can be aware, because you got to educate yourself on these issues. Even though, yeah, they say politics are dirty, but listen, if you don't get involved, that's how they get us. That's how Ukraine basically gets separated from Russia, because we are involved. But in Russia, people are not involved. And so you see this growing to such an extent, they cannot throw down their own guy, right? So I hope people in Taiwan, they really get involved. I hope they stand for their nation, for their culture, that's been there, I hope, for many, many years. So they stay loyal, they stay strong, and never give up, because I think the light will prevail. And that's what really this war is about, is literally dark against evil. So always choose the light, and I hope people who hear this, they'll be able to understand clearly the conflict, that is in Taiwan or Russia or Ukraine, and make the right choices accordingly.
So how much a connection between Putin and the Communist China? What do you know about that?
I think the connection is a lot bigger than we see on the news, on the TV. And I think connection is very strong. First of all, and here's the reasoning I have, right? Why do I think this way? First, both of Russia and China are sharing the same type of control of people. I don't even call it the government. I don't think communist is the government. I think it's the type of control and slavery for people. I don't think it has the right even to be called a government. And you see, if they share the same way, we see President Putin visiting China before the Olympics or during the Olympics. Then we see the rumor, and this was all over the news, US intelligence on Reuters saying that Putin may not invade until the end of the Olympic Winter Games. And what do we see? As soon as the Olympic Games are over, we see the invasion to Ukraine. Right? That there's no chance that they are not in some sort of understanding. I think Russia just didn't want to take over all the news and all the attention from China, right? So we see that there's some sort of connection. And then sanctions. So if you listen to what Russians are saying right now, Russia is under severe sanctions. The worst that there could be, the only countries that had these type of sanctions are Venezuela, Cuba, North Korea, right? There's nothing there. I mean, you're looking at, they're rich on oil, right? Venezuela has a lot of oil, but nobody's buying it. So basically, Russia is being cut off in this way. So the sanctions are hurting Russia from the Western side, but Russia still finds a way, and they say publicly, "Oh, we will sell our oil and gas to China." What? Like how does that work? Well, no wonder why. To me, it's obvious, right? If Putin doesn't leave country for many times to make some of the agreements, but he went to China, and you look at the China's. Okay, let's see at the China's position right now. Is China saying, we're going to sanction Russia? No, they're not. Even if they will, it's not going to hurt the people, right? So unfortunately, I see very strong connection, and I wish I could say otherwise, but in my opinion, I think the connection is so strong that they are almost in union.
Thank you so much, yeah, for open to me and sharing all what you think.
Thank you, Kathy. It's a pleasure. I really appreciate you giving me the opportunity to share this with you and your audience.